Theo, do you like my scarf?
I love it.
I've made this with no hook.
No, you didn't.
I did!
No, you didn't.
I'm going to prove it to you. So let's have a look at this. This is the fabric that we're going to create with our finger crochet. Now that one ball just makes this much scarf. So you can make this as long or as short as you like, depending on how much yarn you've got. We have no hook. Are you ready for this? We're going to use our hands as if we had a hook in them. So the first thing we're going to do is to make a slip knot. I'll just do that nice and slowly for you. So round, and then pull the tail through there and tighten it up. So here is our very first slip knot. Now it's really important with this, because you've got to get your fingers through it, that it's not too tight, because you'll never get both fingers through. Now to make my scarf, I've chained 50 plus 1 for turning. I'm going to work this whole thing in single crochet. So that's double crochet if you're in the UK, single crochet if you're in the US. So I'm going to start off chaining with my fingers. Now I'm only going to make a swatch for you here, so we're just going to go 10 plus 1. So I'll just pull the yarn through. Just imagine that you're doing a chain. I'm just pulling it through the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and 1 for turning. So look, this is a chain just the same as you would have if you were going to use a hook. So I'm going to turn the work. We're going to put our first single crochet stitch into the chain. I'm going to go right in here, which is where you would put your hook, but instead of putting a hook, we're going to put these 2 fingers here. So I've got the working yarn behind here, so I'm going to put my fingers through the chain, pick up the working yarn, so you've now got 2 loops on your finger, and then bring the working yarn through the 2 loops, just like you would if you were working a single crochet that was, you know, with a hook. So I'm going to do a stitch into the chain again here. So I'm going to reach through, grab the working yarn. There it is. So you've got 2 loops on your finger, and then pull the yarn through the 2 loops. Now you can't really see very easily until we get started, but here you go, there are the first 2 stitches. So again, I'm going to put my pincer fingers through the chain, bring up a loop, 2 loops on my finger, reach through the 2 loops and pull the working yarn through. So that's our 3rd stitch. So I'll do that again. 2 fingers through, bring the yarn through the chain. So you've got 2 loops, yarn through the 2 loops. And I know it looks a bit of a mess, but the second row is easier. So I'm going to go through the chain, pull up a loop, so you've got 2, and then pull your yarn through the 2 loops. Going into the next one here, and when you have a go at this, you'll see it is exactly the same motion that if you had a crochet hook that you'd be doing. So here we are into this chain, put my fingers through, pull up a loop, 2 on your fingers, and then pulls the yarn through those 2 loops. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So that's the back of the chain. Here's the front of the chain, and you can see 1, 2, 3 loops, that's 3 chains there. So it doesn't matter where you go into the chain, but I'm just going to go in here. So we pull that yarn, if you see there's the working yarn, through the loop, 2 on our fingers. I'm going to get this yarn and pull it through the 2 loops. So now we've got 2 left, 1, 2. So I'm going through, pull up a loop, so you've got 2 on your fingers, and then we pull the yarn through the 2 loops. Now we're coming up to the last one now, which is here. So I'm going to go through and pull up the working yarn, and then pull the working yarn through those 2 loops. Now that is our first row done. You can see at the top there, those are the stitches along the top. sort of big baggy V's, there they are. But you'll find this next row now a lot easier. So I'm going to turn the work. If you're used to crochet, you'll know that we work under these little V's on the top of your work. So this time we're going to put the stitches, it's much easier, into each stitch as we go along. So I'm going to chain one because we're at the beginning of the row, so there's a chain. And now I'm going to put the first stitch in here. So I'm going to reach through, pull the working yarn through, 2 loops on my hook, and then pull the working yarn through those 2 loops. So that's our first stitch. Here's where we're going to put the second stitch. So we reach through, bring up a loop, 2 loops on your finger, and then we reach through and bring the working yarn through those 2. So this is a basic single crochet if you're in the US, double crochet for the UK. Here's where we're going to put our next stitch. If I hold that out, you can see where these stitches are going to go. In we go, pull up a loop, and then pull the working yarn through these 2. So next stitch in here, through we go, pull up a loop. See, I said the second row is easier, didn't I? And then it goes. So we're going to put this one in here, reach through, pull up a loop, and then pull the yarn through the 2 loops. I'll just show you how it's beginning to look. Now obviously this was really dependent on the tension, your tension, the size of your fingers, the size of your yarn. You can do this with any weight yarn, but I really suggest that you use a chunky or a super chunky, because it's going to be quite a loose stitch. So let's go through the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then bring the yarn through the 2 loops. Coming into the next one, the next one, and then when we get to the end, easy to miss this, but there is your last stitch. If you're not sure, turn it up on its edge and look, and you can see there's 1 stitch here. So I'm going to work into that hole there. Pull up the loop, and then pull your working yarn through those 2. So when I turn the work, you can see there's your second row of stitches, and on the top it's just like a piece of really sort of loose crochet. Those are your stitches coming along there, and we're going to work just as we would if we had a hook underneath each little V here all the way along the chain. So I'll just show you one more row. You might find that this is a bit baggy until you kind of get into your stride, and then your tension will improve as well. So we're going to pull up 1 chain. So I'm just going to reach through and pull up a chain. So we've gone 1 chain up, and then just to work into this first stitch, reach through, pull up a loop, and then pull the working yarn through those 2. Reach in, pull up a loop, pull the working yarn through those 2. So you can see that will give us the 3rd row. Now for my scarf here, I've just worked 4 rows with 50 chains, with 1 for turning. So I chained 51 and worked 4 rows. And that was a nicely deep scarf. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But if you want to make a bigger scarf, just keep working the rows until it's as deep as you want it to be. So once you've reached the depth of the scarf that you want, then it's time to sew it up. I'll show you how to do that. So once you've finished the depth of scarf that you want and the length that you want, and remember you can do this in any weight yarn, and you can make it as deep or as long as you like, it's entirely up to you. We're going to sew these ends together. Now you could knot them together if you really wanted to be needle free, but I prefer the join that's a little bit more secure, so I'm going to sew mine with a needle. Now there's 2 kinds of infinity scarf. There's the one where we just join it into a loop, so it's just 1 loop on its own there like that, and then when you wear it you can sort of double it up or whatever, or if you wanted to be a bit exciting you could put a twist in it like this. like a Mobius scarf. So that has one little twist so that when you're wearing it, it will just hang down and have this nice little twist in it. So we'll put a twist in, I think, just for fun. So if you've ever watched these videos before, you'll know that I'm very keen on a bit of mattress stitch, which is where we stitch the stitches underneath together. But when these stitches are very loopy and big like this, it's a bit of a free-for-all. So we'll have a look, we'll have a go and see. So I've got my yarn needle here. All I can say to you at this point is just try and be as neat as you can. So I'm going to take the yarn and put it under a stitch there. You see I'm coming right underneath the V of this stitch. I'm going to pull the yarn through, and then coming back the other way, I'm going to go under this stitch and under that stitch. So just try and match the stitches backwards and forwards. So I'm coming under this one and under that one, and then under this one. It's very satisfying mattress stitch, and then under there. When these stitches are this big, very difficult to make it absolutely perfect. So we're just going to join there. To be honest, as long as it's, you know, neat enough for you. And then, see, that does sit quite nice and flat. I'm going to weave this end in here. Now this is just one ball of yarn with Paintbox Super Chunky Wool Mix. And we'll put a link to that at the bottom, and you can see what the yardage is. But if you wanted to make a bigger scarf, just buy 2 balls and then just keep going until it's the right depth for you. So I'm just sewing in the end, just burying the end in nicely. Again, when you do this with very big yarn and loopy stitches, just be careful, because you don't want it to look like you've been weaving an end in. You just want to try and hide it away. So I stick that up. So there is the join, which looks quite nice if I say so myself. There is our infinity scarf with a little Mobius twist. Finger crochet. Did you like it? Or did it send you off running for your hooks? Tell me what you thought about finger crochet in the comments. I'd love to know. And you know, Thea and I are making these videos all the time, and we want them to be perfect for you. We want them to be lovely. So if there's something you think that you'd like to see, or maybe something you'd like us to do a bit better, please tell us, because we'd love to know so we can make something exciting for you. So leave us a comment below and tell us what you'd like to see next. See you soon.